Pensacola, Florida, August 2013. A silver Toyota 4Runner sits alone on a stretch of sand at Fort Pickens Beach. Inside are a purse, a phone, a pair of shoes, and a folded bicycle. Outside, two sets of footprints trail toward the surf and stop. One belongs to a young woman, the other to someone no one has ever identified. Her name was Tiffany Daniels, and from that day forward she was never seen again. For years the truth stayed hidden, the victims forgotten, the cases left cold, until science revealed what time could not. This is decades in the dark, where cold cases are brought back to light. Tiffany Daniels was 25 years old, an artist, a free spirit, and a stage technician at Pensacola State College. She painted murals, rode her bike everywhere, and talked about color as if it were language. Her friends said she had a heart that saw beauty in broken things. She lived with a roommate in a small house filled with canvases, paintbrushes, and music. She was curious, kind, and endlessly optimistic. And then, one ordinary August afternoon, she vanished. On August 12, 2013, Tiffany showed up for work like any other Monday. At 4:30 p.m., she told her supervisor she needed to take care of something personal. She didn't explain what that meant. She clocked out early, smiling as she left. Traffic cameras caught her silver 4Runner heading west toward the beach. It was the last confirmed sighting of her alive. When she didn't return to work the next morning, coworkers assumed she'd taken a spontaneous trip. But when she missed several days and never answered her phone, worry turned to fear. 5 days later, a park ranger spotted Tiffany's 4Runner near the entrance to Fort Pickens Beach. Inside were her purse and wallet, her bicycle folded in the back seat, a half-empty bottle of water and a few granola bars, and her cell phone, switched completely off. Investigators later confirmed the phone had pinged a tower near Pensacola Beach the night she disappeared. Then around 7:30 p.m., it went dark. Not out of signal range, not out of battery. It had been manually turned off, likely by Tiffany, or by someone who didn't want her calling for help. Her keys were gone, but the doors were unlocked. Then deputies noticed something in the sand. Two distinct sets of footprints. One small and barefoot, matching Tiffany's size. The other, larger and shoe-clad, a man's. Both led south across the soft white sand toward the waterline. The barefoot prints continued onto the wet sand, where waves could easily reach. The shoe prints stopped earlier, and then, both trails simply ended. No returning prints, no drag marks, nothing. Some believed the pair had walked into the surf. Others thought a car picked them up near the access road, or that the wind and tide erased whatever story the sand had tried to tell. But if a car had been involved, there was no clear proof of it. No tire tracks near where the footprints ended. Only Tiffany's own 4Runner impressions were visible near the parking area. Normal, steady, and unhurried. By the time investigators arrived, days of wind, new visitors, and park patrols had covered any potential clues. If another vehicle had pulled up closer to the shoreline, its tracks had long since been erased. That left three possibilities. They were picked up farther back, closer to the access road. They walked into the Gulf and were swallowed by the tide, or the beach itself had simply taken the evidence. Tiffany's mother would later say, "If there were tracks, the sand took them. But I think she left that beach alive, just not in her own car." The only certainty was that Tiffany had not been alone. Soon, witnesses came forward. Several beachgoers reported seeing a man near Tiffany's SUV around the time it was abandoned. He was described as white, mid-30s to 40s, medium build, short brown hair, wearing a red shirt and khaki shorts. One couple remembered him pacing beside the 4Runner, looking out toward the Gulf. When they returned from their walk 20 minutes later, the man was gone. But the car was still there. Another woman said she saw a man with that same description walking alone down the beach, holding his shoes. Investigators released composite sketches based on the accounts, but the man was never identified, and no one matching his description ever came forward. Was he a stranger, someone Tiffany knew, or the last person to see her alive? At first, detectives considered that Tiffany might have left by choice. She'd recently ended a relationship. Her boyfriend had moved to Texas. She was introspective but not depressed, and friends said she'd talked about taking a trip. But when her family checked her home, that theory collapsed. Her cat was left without food or water, something Tiffany would never have done. Fresh laundry sat in the dryer, groceries filled the fridge. It looked like she'd stepped out for an errand and never made it back. Her roommate was cleared. He'd been working night shifts all week. Her ex-boyfriend had proof he was hundreds of miles away. Then came tips, one from New Orleans, another from Louisiana, of a woman who looked like Tiffany, walking with a man, appearing disoriented. None were confirmed, but they hinted at a darker possibility. Over the years, three main explanations emerged. Voluntary disappearance. that Tiffany left to start over somewhere new. But she took nothing with her. No ID, no passport, not even her beloved cat. Accident or misadventure. That she went swimming or hiking in the dunes and never returned. But exhaustive searches by land, sea, and air found nothing. No clothing, no remains, or abduction. The footprints, the missing keys, the mysterious man, all point to foul play. Some investigators believe she met someone she trusted, and that person betrayed her. Fort Pickens sits near Eglin Air Force Base, an area long associated with strange lights and whispered experiments over the Gulf. When people learned Tiffany's footprints ended mid-sand, her phone went dark, and her car was left untouched. Rumors began to spread that something unearthly might have happened. Online forums linked her disappearance to UFO sightings reported that same week, glowing orbs hovering silently over the water. Some believe she may have been caught up in something secret, something even the military couldn't explain. A few went further, suggesting an alien abduction. Tiffany was known for her fascination with spirituality, energy, and what she called thin places. Those rare moments where the veil between worlds feels thinner than usual. To some, her vanishing felt exactly like that, a moment where reality itself slipped. Her family and investigators dismissed those theories. Tiffany's parents, Cindy and Rodney Daniels, have never stopped looking. They organized searches, vigils, and media appeals. They drove through multiple states chasing tips, from rest stops to small coastal towns. A year later, a waitress in Texas claimed she'd served a woman who looked exactly like Tiffany. Quiet, subdued, sitting beside an older man who ordered for her. Security footage was grainy. Her parents still believe it might have been her. Cindy Daniels once said, "I don't believe she walked into that water. I believe she met someone she trusted. And that's who took her." Why did Tiffany leave work early that day? Who was the man near her car? And how could two sets of footprints end in the middle of the sand, with no trail back? No DNA, no remains, no personal items have ever been recovered. Just a car, a mystery, and a family that refuses to stop searching. Tiffany Daniels was a dreamer, a woman who believed in possibility. But one summer afternoon, she drove toward the sea and vanished into its silence. Maybe she met someone she trusted. Maybe the water took her. Or maybe the truth lies somewhere beyond what we can understand. Her footprints led toward the tide, and beyond that horizon her story still waits, half washed away but never forgotten. This is Decades in the Dark, where science brings the past to light. Subscribe for more stories, where justice never expires.